and the US. Almost 3 years down the line, has this come to pass? Or this was just, as Kenyans would say, hot air? I told you my name is O'Brien Kimani, and we are live on KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle is @O'Brien Kimani, and you're welcome to follow the show on our Instagram as well as on our Facebook pages. Remember, we also live streaming. This is Bischeck. You're welcome to the show. Well, it's almost 20 years since the world got to know the business of cryptocurrency. And for your information, Kenya is ranked as the second in Africa with the highest number of crypto traders. And that tells you the magnitude of this market. And globally, the cryptocurrency market is estimated to be about $1.1 trillion US. Well, that's quite a significant portion of the global financial markets. So this critical market has been unregulated for quite a long time, and now market regulators are coming together and asking themselves, is it possible, number one, to regulate the cryptocurrency market, and number two, is it workable? That is the question that the market regulators are asking themselves. What is the future of cryptocurrency, not only here in Kenya, but around the world? And is it as easy as it sounds to invest and to become a trader of cryptocurrency? What are the things that you need to know before you jump into this market? Remember, it is a highly sophisticated market. It requires to know a thing or two about market movement. That is the conversation that we want to have this morning. And I am joined by Benson Urokenya. He is a crypto expert. He's also an investor in the crypto world with a number of years of experience. He's going to share with us his insight. Benson, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us this morning.
Pleasure is mine.
And of course, next to Urokenya, we have Zakaria Kariuki. He's also a crypto investor, and he knows a thing or two about crypto world. Thank you very much indeed, Zakaria Kariuki, for joining us. I want to start this conversation with Benson, and I want to find out from you, what is the status of cryptocurrencies in markets?
All I can say about cryptocurrency, the status of cryptocurrency in the market right now, it is clouded with so many negativity right now, because before the other cryptocurrencies came, which were actually absolute scam. So when the right channel comes in cryptocurrency in the mind of people, or many people, you find that they are still reluctant. They don't want to venture into that knowledge. But so far, so good. And that's why we come boldly to say that, to shape the opinion over the cryptocurrency. Because at the end of the day, this is a technology that is taking us to where actually we want to be. So the status, I can say, is far much better than it was before.
Yeah. I know you have invested in this sector, and I'll be coming back to you to find out more about your journey with cryptocurrencies. But I want now to turn to Zakaria Kariuki. Last year, when the news broke that FTX was collapsing with the billions of investors' funds, a lot of people became skeptical about cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Where are we now? Are people still worried about investing in cryptocurrencies? Have we gone back to normal, or the reality is slowly sinking in?
I think the best thing about this space is that it's survival for the fittest. Okay? It's survival for the fittest. The best thing is that, and this is what gives me a lot of courage, that if you want to buy a car today, you don't go and say, oh, every person who buys a car gets an accident and dies.
Yeah.
All right? So it simply means that if you want to get in this space, it's a space that you have, it is survival for the fittest. If you're not fit enough, you'll not survive in this space. So in reality, when FTX went down, yes, it's unfortunate, but in reality, the next match, you realize that the best people in the market, they learn from the people who have failed in the market. So they learn from those mistakes, they correct them, and that is how the industry shapes itself. If you look at any industry, any industry we've been, it has been, you know, you look at the past, you've seen the biggest, the giants fell down, and then probably the underdogs learned from that simple mistake that these titans did, and then they ended up being the biggest they are. You look at something like Binance. There was a time that Binance was just an underdog. No one knew about Binance. But when, you know, things in other sides fell down, it's when Binance became the biggest cryptocurrency. As in cryptocurrency exchange in the world today, it's one of the giants. So they have learned from the mistakes. You understand that even when FTX goes down, the other competitors learn from these mistakes, and they actually, the industry gets stronger and better because they have at least a learning curve. They know what not to do. Yes.
And from what we understand is that nature abhors vacuum.
Yes.
And so it is proper to say that indeed the space that was occupied by FTX, you know, would definitely be filled by another player. For how long have you interacted with cryptocurrency, Rukenya?
I'll start my journey way back in 2009. 2009.
Yeah.
It's not actually that I jumped into crypto, but the first time I heard about the word cryptocurrency. And actually I decided to look more about this cryptocurrency space. And so far I can say, the first time actually I was trying to jump into the space. I went and asked somebody about the same cryptocurrency, who actually I thought is more knowledgeable about the space. But this somebody talked me out of this thing. He told me, man, if you want to lose money, put your money in that space. You don't know the space. And actually, when I look at it and I say, okay, I think I'm still newbie in this. I'm so green in this field of cryptocurrency. But I decided, actually I was to buy Bitcoin back in 2009. I was to buy Bitcoin. It was actually $1 at that time. $1 per Bitcoin. You can imagine how much. As much as it has gone down, you can still imagine how much.
22,000 US dollars.
That is how many years ago? 2009 to date. If I could have invested, $1 only, today, that $1, I will be 2-point-something million rich Kenya shillings today. But I lost the opportunity because I asked the opportunity to the wrong person. This guy talked me out, but I decided, yes, I have missed the opportunity, but still I'll come back and find about, try to get to know more about this field. And actually, I went down to read about this crypto space and so many other spaces that are in cryptocurrency. But actually, I focused more on Bitcoin. When I came to learn about Bitcoin, now that is 2013. My journey started at 2009, but now I started actually now trying to see what is happening in this crypto field back in 2013.
That's about 10 years ago.
That's it. So I started actually gathering knowledge in this space. Not actually to invest in the space, but learning about the space. Because I believe it is the opportunity that meets what? Preparations. So actually I was prepared to what will come ahead. Because I missed the bit of Bitcoin, which I couldn't afford in 2013, up to 2017, I think. Now, 2017 is where actually everything got blown in crypto space, especially in Bitcoin, because that's when it reached actually its higher high. So everybody was like, tunataka kufanya hii kitu tunasikia iko na pesa. Now they want to do it, but they have no knowledge of doing it. The way Kenyans we are. Tunataka kuweka kitu because it is paying somebody else. Now you want to try because it is paying out. Don't jump into it because it is paying out. Find knowledge, gather knowledge about the space, then tunaendelea mbele poa. But now you from there to date, I can say tuache mambo ya masomo. Hiyo nasemaga kwanza tuweke kando. Let's talk about what you can do. Sababu, like for instance, if you didn't get that education to do whatever other people are doing through education, I can always tell people, technology imekuja kurebalate wale watu hata hawajasoma. Technology knows no background of education. Technology inakat across any race, haijui anything. But that's actually the reason I'm seated here. Na hata najiringa sana nikiwa nimevaa suti for the first time on TV because of technology. That's the reason as to I'm here.
I want to hear from you. Did you ever burn your fingers in a crypto market?
Many times. And actually, we normally, in crypto field, we normally say it is a tuition fee. That's the tuition fee you pay to be where we are today. And still, sometimes even here where we are, we still pay tuition fees. Yes,
You're still burning your fingers?
Yes, I can tell you.
10 years down the line.
As we continue this show, I tell you where you burn fingers. And this is the reason why people understand crypto in only one perspective, but they are blind in the other, the bigger picture. They never see the bigger picture. Where we burn fingers, we'll tell you where we burn fingers. Yes, until now, I can say, yes, the heat has subsided. We don't burn that much we used to burn before. Sahi tunachomeka kidogo kidogo.
The pain is not as intense as it was 10 years ago.
Yes.
I'll be coming back to you, but I want to hear from Karaoke. As a crypto investor, what is your history with crypto markets?
Well, mine, if you compare it with Benson, mine is quite short. I've only done this for 3 years.
3 years?
Yes, in 2009, November is when I was first introduced to this space. And just like every other person, I was very skeptical of the space. I actually ran away from the person who was telling me about it. It took me 6 months to gather the courage, first of all, to even start it. But I think for me, the blessing in disguise was COVID. Because if there was no COVID, I could not have taken time to learn this space. Because remember, we spent all the time at home and we could do nothing. And number one, we were also not earning any money.
Yeah.
So if you see your friend making money in a space that you ran away from, you might be interested in understanding the space. And that is how my journey started. That was in 2020. In 2020, May, is when I started to learn about this space. And in that less than 3 years only, I think I'm hitting 3 years this coming May, in a few months. But I can tell you that for all the things that I have done, I've been in employment, I've been a businessman, and I've had my own companies. I've seen them fail. But I can assure you that there is no space that you can compare with digital space. There's no other way of making money right now in the current world than being in this space. So I do this 100%. I'm living a crypto life, crypto-powered life, and that is it for me. I believe I'm going to retire in this space. I think it's the only space you can retire when you're young. Any other space you have to eat until you're 60. So for me, this is what I do full-time for the last 3 years, and this is what I'm going to do until we are financially free. Because when you talk of financial freedom,
what was your biggest breakthrough?
Well, my biggest breakthrough was the journey that I had passed before getting to crypto. That journey was my breakthrough because when I was really broke, when things were not working for me, I started to learn and understand what entails this space. Because number one, you can only get in a space that you have knowledge about. So, like for example, you understand that if you get to cryptocurrency, 80% of people lose their money.
80%?
80%. Only 20% make money. So in reality, if you're not part of the 20%, if you don't have enough information, enough knowledge to understand about this space, you have an 80% chance of losing your money. But the best thing is that if you're part of the 20%, trust you me, doing this 2-3 years, you're financially free. So for me, I had
you are
prepared
financially liberated.
Yes, you'll never talk about money.
Tell me things. I mean, for you have done it for now about 5 years now?
3 years.
3 years,
yes.
Actually. You've been in this space for the last 10 years, though you got knowledge of it in 2009. And you're still burning your fingers, that's what you're saying. But in the same breath, you're still making it big time. Would you be kind enough to let us know what was your biggest loss at some point?
My biggest loss, the first big one. Let me talk about the first big one. The first big one was actually it was online, and somebody told me that because at that time I wanted money, so I wanted quick money. So I went online. It was on Telegram, and somebody told me, we have this trading platform. When you deposit, was it how much? Like, it was almost 1.8 million Kenya shillings. When you deposit this, you get 40% every week. And I was like, I need to get this money. I need to get this money to start this. And actually I did that, but Siku raised 1.8.
Yeah.
But actually it was almost 1 point something, 1.1. Mimi nikaekelea hapo. As street language normally say, the morife. I packed my money there and actually was waiting for returns every week. You know what happened?
Yeah.
Ilikunywa maji. That was my tuition fee.
So
very
you
expensive.
lost everything.
I can imagine, for you to go to university, you need to pay how much? Maybe for the, like,
for
4 years.
Duration 4 years,
Almost the same amount. Sasa mimi tuition fee yangu nililipa kwa morife wa huko Telegram.
What kept you going? I mean, if you are to invest for the first time and lose 1.something million shillings, you definitely have to rethink the industry, and chances are very high that you just count your losses and go. But you didn't give up, right?
The reason I didn't give up, my DNA itself, it's not of somebody who gives up. I'm a go-getter. I'm a risk taker, the biggest risk taker you have ever seen. It's me. After that time, because I paid the tuition fee, what happened to the kids that pays their tuition fee? They have an upper hand when it comes to examination, because wanafunzwa zile vitu wengine hawajui. So actually mimi I was taught what somebody else mwenye hajaingia kwa crypto field hajui. I was taught that. So the next time I decided now to venture full blast, I was now knowledgeable that don't touch this button. It will burn you. Now try to touch this other button. It will make something out of it.
When was your biggest breakthrough?
My biggest when was it?
2021.
2021,
December.
I think.
2021?
December. Yeah, December. And this is what happens. Actually, the same thing I'm telling our viewers, our fellow Kenyans, is that you find that you're being talked of an opportunity, and you decide, okay, let me do it. Let me analyze this thing and see whether it will give me something out of it. But with the mentality that we have, is that we want to get something in and get it out tomorrow. Hiyo ni uongo. I'll be lying to you. This is what happens. Within the same platform of cryptocurrency, something came up. Kuna vitu kwa crypto tunaitaga drops, airdrops. So when these drops came, there's this a platform known as Planet IX. When Planet IX came, they came up with a coin, IXT coins. So because we were pioneers of Planet IX, we'll talk more in another show about all those Planet IX things. But I'm trying to explain where my biggest breakthrough came in. IXT, they gave us drops, airdrops, free airdrops. Then later, they said now we can sell part of our IXTs to anyone who is willing to buy. And I decided, let me buy this hot air. It was hot air to the mind of many people. And I decided, okay, let me buy this. But before I went to buy those IXTs, I didn't have money at that time. So I did what I had to do to raise that money.
Legally.
Yes, legally. So when actually I got that money, I came. Actually, I talked to my people. People, let's buy this thing. Let's buy this thing. Wananiambia wewe, actually walikuwa wananiita mogoroki, like the politicians call each other. Actually, I was that mogoroki in cryptocurrency. But I decided I would rather be insane doing what I know is best for me, not for you. So I went in, I bought the IXT. I bought it at 0.44 over dollar. 0.44 over dollar. But it was, there were many.
It was about 50 cents.
There were many.
US dollars.
After 3 months, the coin that I bought, do you know the reason as to why I bought the coin? Because it was publicized within the community, within the, what this platform? We have a platform, so it was publicized. So everybody knew about it. And I thought, if like 1 million people decide to do what I'm trying to do, what will happen to the price of this coin? It will shoot up. So I decided, let me be the risk taker. Let me buy these rumors. I don't want to buy the news. Let me buy these rumors. I bought the rumors, but after 3 months, my rumors paid. And everybody who I actually talked to come and jump into IXT, they were all afraid. But when now the fruits were there, now everybody jump into crypto. The same thing that will actually going to happen even to Kenyans. When something is there, nobody see the value of it because it will not pay you tomorrow. But crypto requires patience. And the reason I'm here is because IXT got me where I am financially.
What was the highest amount that you ever made out of cryptocurrency trading?
Do I have to say it? Yeah.
Well, you can just mention. You don't have to be abstract, but you can just say between this and this much.
Between, let's say it was maybe over $100,000.
$100,000.
Yes.
That's about 10 million Kenya shillings.
Yes.
Plus.
Yes.
Wow.
Remember, this is somebody who made that money. You know, I always try to tell people, mi natakaga story yangu ikue, like, I want to empower somebody through technology and through cryptocurrency. Because my story is of no difference na ule mtoko pale kwa street. I was the same person mwenye ako hapo kwa street. So I would normally say, let me be a crypto evangelist. That I can give you a tool that can take you to where you want to go, regardless of your background.
Zachary, I mean, tell me, Benson's story is very interesting. But I also want to hear from you. I mean, a lot of people, we do not have a clear understanding of what is cryptocurrency. How do you analyze the risks? When do you buy? When do you sell? What do you buy? In an industry where there are more than 21,000 coins, how do you gain that knowledge of knowing that this is the best coin to invest in and that this is the best time for me to exit from this coin?
Yes. So I think we are living in a very unfair society. That we have been in technology since 1994, or rather since 2000. And yet, you find that someone can have even a PhD in these streets of Nairobi, but doesn't understand a single thing about cryptocurrency. So it means that if you want to understand anything about cryptocurrency, it is you who needs to dig and find that information. So it so happens that we are also living in a society which is full of copy-paste.
Yeah.
If I want to have a shop, I just go look at my neighbor, what they are selling, and I just put that. Without knowing the rules that guide that industry. So the same thing that happens for me also, that I put myself into a self-learning, self-training program, that every day I had to improve by 1%. So if you understand, you know, very simple, it's very simple. I can give you an example. Cryptocurrency has been there since 2009, 14 years. Yet the coins that are legal and legit are only 21,000. Only 21,000.
Yeah.
But if you look at the scams as well that have been there last year only, in 2022, there were 117,000. That's probably 350 new scams every day. So if you want to understand how to easily make money in this space, you need to be able to detect what a scam is, what is not working and what works. So if just the moment you're able to distinguish between the two, then already we know you're going to make money. So you're not going to lose money. First, we eliminate the losing money part. All right? And then we come to making money. So when it comes to making money, it's very simple. Once you're in the right cryptocurrency, already you're having the right coin. I think the rest becomes very easy because you just position yourself and you just surround yourself with information because it's an ever-evolving business. If you join Bitcoin today, for example, and then you just buy it and then you come back a year later, open your account, it will be a very different thing. So a lot would have passed within that 1 year that, you know, you not have an idea about.
But of course, it is not guaranteed that, for example, if you buy Bitcoin today, and I just checked the prices, which is about $22,000 US, it is not guaranteed that in the next 1 year, it is going to be $30,000 US.
Yes.
It could even go down up to $5,000 US.
Yes. There are the rules of crypto. And the rules of crypto, you should be able to understand that the cycle goes for 4 years. If you want to be profitable, you need to be patient enough to understand that there's a cycle of 4 years. The problem with us is that we want to jump in, like Benson has said, and then tomorrow you have your money. And that is what makes us lose money. every single time. Because we are not able to plan 4 years ahead. We're only able to plan today, tomorrow, the rent, the school fees, everything. But cryptocurrency doesn't work that way. It is actually the cryptocurrency, the digital coin that you have, it is an asset. You don't buy land today and sell tomorrow. You know, you give it some time, it adds value, and then you sell at that time. So I think if you're really serious in crypto, anyone, and then in 2 years, you have followed and done, you know, your work properly, I think in 2 years you'll be free. You'll be making some good money. But you have to be patient enough to understand that the cycle goes for 4 years.
So the crypto market is not a platform whereby you buy today, you sell tomorrow, and you become an overnight millionaire.
Yes, some do. This is what works. There are people who know how to trade. There's the trading part. And most of the people we know...
But they have some years of experience.
Yes. Actually, when you have around 3 years of experience, you're able to trade. I think he's a bigger risk taker than me. You know, he can do trading. For me, I think still, you know, I don't want to burn my fingers. I think I talk more of how not to lose money than how to make money. And he's daring enough. But for me, I think if we can do what is safe, where we cannot lose money, I think if you can make a shilling a day, compound it over time, I think you can be able to make a lot of money over time without taking a very big risk. So over time, 1, 2, 3 years, you'll have compounded enough money to be, you know, financially free.
There are a lot of people out there who still think and believe that, you know, the crypto market is some sort of a pyramid scheme.
Yes.
Whereby you invest and then you are guaranteed 50% returns, you know, on a monthly basis. And clearly, I mean, we don't have any assets in the world that will give you that kind of returns. How far do you encounter such claims, and how do you deal with them?
First of all, I think it's hard to talk about cryptocurrency when you don't talk of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was at, you know, 0.10 of a dollar in 2009. And in 2020, December, it was at 7 million Kenyan shillings. That's 7 million%. If you tell someone that something is going to appreciate by 7 million%, they'll never accept it. They never agree. It doesn't sound true, but it happened.
Yeah.
So the kind of serious percentages that you can only make it in crypto. If you look at Kenya, the banks will only give you 1 or 2%. Money markets, insurance will give you roughly 7%. But in cryptocurrency, you make all the way to 60% and beyond. You know, so
when you invest in the right crypto.
When you invest in the right crypto. When you invest in the right crypto. So this is called a decentralized system. So it means that any system that someone tells you, give me your money, I'll trade for you, run away. All right? But when you get a system where you have full power and control of your money, that's number one way to realize it's safe. So for me, practically what I've been able to do, because I've not been able to talk about losses in this industry, I've not lost a single coin.
You've never lost?
I've never lost a single coin. So I've done what is safe. I've learned the principles of money as well. And I'm using these strategies and this space, the cryptocurrency space, to go, you know, to get to my financial freedom easily. It's very easy. You need to understand where the world is going. Right now, the whole world is probably in cryptocurrency only 3%. In 10 years, it will be 30%. By the time everybody is coming in cryptocurrency, it will be too late for us. If you're joining at that time when everybody is coming in, there will be no opportunities there. If you look at the internet age, you look at Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, all those people made money when the internet was fresh. Right now, you cannot join the internet age and make money. We are all users of the internet age. We cannot make money in internet age. That is gone. In cryptocurrency, we have only a small window. Now and within 10 years. Anyone who gets to this space within the first 10 years, then you're done. You'll make so much money, you'll never believe it. But anyone who joins from the 10th year moving forward, cryptocurrency will be there. Most countries will have adopted it as their legal tender. It will be big time. But no one will make serious money there. No one will.
The market will be crowded.
The people who took the first risk within the first 10 years are the people who are going to make 90% of that money. The rest, 90% of people who will come, they only share 10% of the money.
Well, if you're just watching this conversation, it sounds very enticing that I know there's somebody out there who is asking themselves, how do I get into this market? Because I just want to get rich. My advice to you is very simple, and this is what we are getting from the investors and from the analysts here, is that first of all, take your time to understand the market. It is not as easy as it sounds. You run the risk of losing your investment. But when you invest the right way, just like in the commodities market, just like in the bonds market, in the equities market, when you understand the psychology of the market, when you know what to invest in, how to invest, and the dynamics of the company that you're investing in, then you become a sharp investors. And by doing so, you minimize, not that you eradicate, but you minimize your risks of burning your fingers. Because at the end of the day, the markets are risky because they're driven by swings, and the swings are driven by many aspects. And so some of those aspects you and I are not in control, and they affect the market, and you end up with so many swings that sometimes you can burn your entire savings. And that's why we are having this conversation with Benson Rukenya. He's a crypto expert. He has been in this space since the year 2013, and so he has tremendous amount of experience. And also we have Zakaria Kariuki, not quite old, but he has amassed so much wealth of experience that he qualifies to be a crypto expert as well. And so that's why this conversation is very, very important for you. We have people out there in the world who have become millionaires, billionaires through investment in cryptocurrencies. We also have people, unfortunately, who have become bankrupt because of investing in the wrong coins. And that's why information is king. I want to talk to Benson Rukenya here, and I want to find out from you, Benson, do you see yourself ever moving out of the crypto market?
Do I see myself ever moving out of this space? No. The answer is no.
The answer is
reason.
No.
I've been into employment, I've been in businesses, but compared to the field that I am today, none that I've mentioned can compare to the money that we make in cryptocurrency.
Very good. I just want you to hold on to your thoughts, because now we want to go to Maji House, where the PS for Water, Dr. Paul Rono, is addressing the media on illegal water connections that are giving the country serious problems. Let's now first of all listen in.
Yes.
From Media Max.
I hope you have not.
My question is about the sinking of borehole in Nairobi. Whether it's a concern on the sustainability of underground water. Is it an issue? Because maybe according to unverified information, it's half of the borehole in Nairobi have not met the required standards or requirements from the government agents. Is it a concern? The other issue is illegal abstraction of water. We are talking about illegal connection. We have abstraction of water in water sources. Maybe from Mount Kenya we have other sources or water towers. Will this campaign capture even those illegal abstractions? The last question is on Nairobi Dam. What is the status of Nairobi Dam?
All right. On the issue of boreholes in Nairobi, we have drilled close to 300 boreholes in Nairobi to really support the water demands required in Nairobi, because the current dams supplying Nairobi cannot meet the demand. So the government has drilled close to 300 boreholes in Nairobi. And we are saying those boreholes are almost enough for Nairobi. There is likely to be no more drilling of boreholes in Nairobi. And that is why we are bringing what is called raw water now to Nairobi from the northern collector, close to 140,000 cubic meters, to really add the water we have in Nairobi, so that we have raw water now. So we may not be drilling any more boreholes in Nairobi. On the other issue was extraction of water, illegal extraction of water. we are aware that there are individuals who are given permission to extract water for purpose of irrigation. And I'm talking about regions in Mount Kenya, regions like Rift Valley, and other part of the country. And the instructions given to those individuals were very clear that you extract water when only there is adequate water in the rivers. In the event we get an alert from Ministry of Water that the river has gone down, we normally give notice to individuals to stop extraction of water, because as they continue extracting water, maybe from upstream, you find that rivers downstream are drying. But we have worked with those individuals and we have communicated to them to really, at this time round, be very careful in the way they are extracting water. And we have agreed with them that we do what is called rationing, whereby during the day they can extract water, but during the night there is no extraction of water, so that we can allow water to flow downstream to really supply the customers downstream. Of course, we have cases whereby, irrespective of that directive, there is still what we can now call illegal extraction of water, even after such instructions were given. And we understand the situation in the country, but we also understand that there is a particular plan which those individuals do not put in place, because when they were being given license, they were told that they need to have specific tanks to store water during rainy seasons, so that this time when there is no rain, they can now use the water in the tanks. But many of them do not really invest in the either construction of small dams or in buying tanks to really assist them during this time of drought, so that they can harvest their crops. But we are saying we also don't want them to lose their crops. And we are working with them to see if they can be extracting water specifically for the crops and what we call just adequate water, not excess. I think that is a model we are trying to use with those individuals, so that they also don't lose on their crops. But once they have harvested their crops, I think until the next rainy season is when they can now start extracting water. But for the time being, we have requested them to really be considerate, at the same time ensure that there is no wastage, and they will only extract water during the day, and then during the night they allow the rivers to flow.
Nairobi Dam.
No answer on that. Not now.
I think that's we can come to a close, because we still have a long way. On that, we can just go to the field, and then most of those questions we can answer them from there. Thank you. And let me know those who have a challenge following us to the site. If you don't have transport, we can assist those who do not have.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, that is Water Principal Secretary Dr. Rono there, putting illegal water connectors on notice. And now we want to cross over to City Hall, where Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja is being inaugurated as the patron of the Red Cross, and now he's giving his remarks. Let's pay attention.
A distant patron, I can recommend someone. But if you want a real patron who will walk hand in hand with you, of course I understand the governance structure, I'm not there to do any day-to-day work, but who will actually be a patron? than your founder patron. And I wish to officially accept the request to be the patron of Red Cross in Nairobi. Of course, this is very personal to me. When the invitation came, I resolved to accept it, but I wanted us to be able to do this together because I support what you stand for. I support the clarion call, Invu, togetherness. I support that. That has been my mantra. That has been my slogan of that we must all be together. And I keep saying there is no Luya lack of water in Nairobi and Kikuyu pothole or Luo hunger. All our problems are the same. Nairobi is that melting pot of all our communities. And that unity, that togetherness remains our marching anthem and our clarion call. I've visited your offices a few times. I've seen what you're doing, and I hope that we can do the MOU as soon as possible. Of course, I pledge to do everything that I can do to help you reach everyone who needs you, whether it's because they're in distress or because they need the knowledge to protect themselves and their families, or because they want to learn how to serve others. And I'm glad you've mentioned many of these areas. CHVs, community health volunteers. I'm sure many of our volunteers are possibly also Red Cross volunteers. And it is good for us to understand. Now, for the first time, we've put them on a stipend. We are possibly the only county that was able to do that. Others are now coming on board. We have 7,640 community health volunteers in Nairobi. And every month they receive 3,500 as a stipend, and that includes money for NHIF to register them. We are taking that up to 5,000 because we've agreed with the national government that they will support at least 2,500 throughout the country to pay them. But for us now, we will increase. We won't say that they've covered our cost. We will give them a bit more and make it actually 5,500 so that we pay for them NHIF. If you just give them the cash to pay, they will not pay. Yeah, so that we pay for them NHIF. Now, when we were at COG, PS, you remember, there was an argument whether to call them volunteers or workers. And one of the governors said that when you call them volunteers, you're diminishing them. These are workers and they offer service. And I said, no. Volunteerism is a good thing. It is something to be respected. It's an honorable thing to do, you know. It doesn't mean that then we don't facilitate you, but it's actually honorable to volunteer. We need to bring out the spirit of volunteerism, you know, in the country, beyond just the CHVs, you know. And I can't wait to really come on board with you to champion to our young people in schools, in universities, to the Red Cross clubs, you know, in the schools. At some point I was a member of that. And let people know the value of serving others. You know, the Bible says, consider others better than yourself. And it also says in James that true religion is this, taking care of widows and orphans at the time of distress. That is a true religion that is blameless before God. We must encourage volunteerism. We must encourage people thinking about their neighbors. We must encourage, you know, looking out for each other. We've become competitive to a fault. People no longer care about others. If you see how people drive, you know those are not Red Cross people. Because when you think about yourself only, what kind of society are we building? And so our CHVs we will support. We will support your volunteers. I've had the request about one of the facilities. I think we should wait for us to build new ones. We're actually building new ones so that we're not removing from some people and giving other people. But we can innovatively see how to create opportunities for those who are volunteers. If someone has volunteerism in them, even when they leave that, you know, and get into their career, they will be.
Well, that is Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, who has just been inaugurated by the Red Cross Society of Kenya as a patron. We are back in studio having a conversation around cryptocurrency. Joining me in studio is Benson Rukenya, a crypto expert, and Zakaria Kariuki, who is a crypto investor. We are just looking at and going through the highs and the lows of cryptocurrencies and what kind of information that you need to arm yourself with before you decide to get into this world of cryptocurrency. cryptocurrency. And I want to turn to Zakaria Kariuki. Why do you think cryptocurrency has become such a popular topic, such a popular avenue of investment here in Kenya?
I think it's very simple. It has always been very simple for me. Because previously, before cryptocurrency, you've only had two options. Number one, you go to employment. You're sure that in a whole year, you'll be paid 12 times, once a month. Yeah. At the age of 60, you retire with nothing. That is true. That is the basic truth. That is the basic truth.
You retire with nothing?
Yes, no one will ever employ you for you to be rich. They'll employ you to squeeze you and then they become rich. All right, you'll make millions for them, they'll pay you in thousands. Yeah. That's the truth. For me, I'm a retiree. I retired a long time ago. I used to work
time ago. You look young.
I am young, but I retired at 28.
28?
Yes, and I was working abroad. So I retired because at the end of the day, if you allow, we are told that time is money. Yeah. So if you allow someone to control your time, they'll control how much you're worth. They'll control your worth. So for me, moving out of that meant I needed freedom, that I can decide my worth. So that is number one. Number two, you go to business. So what is business? A very simple question I always ask everyone who's in business. Your high school teacher, or the person who taught you business even in university, are they business people or they employees? So they've never practiced what they teach, Because if lecturers and teachers who teach business were the richest people, they would own Nairobi. But really, that's not the case. So what is the situation that we have? We're having people who have been pumped out of college and universities. We're having people who are having businesses that are not working. Because in reality, especially this year, will be one of the toughest year for anyone who's doing business. It's going to be, you see how the dollar is moving and all of that. So it's going to be tough times ahead. There's no purchasing power. So now for the longest time period, there has not been a third option. And the option has always been in cryptocurrency. And once someone adopts crypto in the language of cryptocurrency, the best thing is that crypto has two sides. There's a side you can join cryptocurrency with zero knowledge and still make money, be profitable. That is the best.
And you learn in the process.
And you learn in the process, which has zero risk at all. You're not going to lose your money. And then there's the part of risk. You have to arm yourself with a lot of knowledge. And then you can make it even bigger. Yeah, the risk, the more you can make. So at the end of the day, crypto offers both people. One with less knowledge. Remember, there's someone who's 60 years old, who's 50-year-old, who cannot understand this digital space. But yet, there's a space for that person in cryptocurrency that they can invest their money and make their money either monthly or they get to decide how much they want to earn. No one decides. So you get the power to decide how much you want to earn. So, and then there's the other space which probably is filled with young people, that people can trade and make even more money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. I'll be coming back to Benson, but for now we want to go to Taita Taveta County, where our coast correspondent, Junei Karisa, is talking to the governor, and let's listen in to that conversation.
Because after that I'll be as free as air.
Right, we are in Taita Taveta County and we are with the County Governor, Andrew Mwadime Wakuja. He's going to tell us more about his maiden name that he has been given by the residents here. But we're going to have a chit-chat on the revenue sharing methods that he is trying as a governor to enable devolution to work here in Taita Taveta County. Karibu sana, Gavana. Tueleze Wakuja, jina hilo, where does it come from, and what are you trying to spearhead using that name?
Wakuja, actually, it's not a new name to me. It's been there for a while. And actually, it came because when I do things, I do them in totality. Na watu wengi they associated me with amani. Yani nimejaa amani kwa kila mtu. Na nimejaa upendo kwa kila mtu. Na nimejaa maendeleo kwa kila mtu. Ndio watu wakasema Wakuja yani amejaa amani, amejaa maendeleo. Unaona, somebody who is full of things. But now that's how it came from.
Okay.
And that's what I've been doing even before I was elected as a member of parliament. I've been doing things to the society. And when I do them in totality. That's why you see when I was campaigning, I campaigned as an independent candidate. But you see, I went fully, just like a lion, when he's trying to hunt and it's spray. It normally goes full blast. So me, I also go full blast like that. And you know, in our language, wakuja, yani ni mtu, ni sema Kiswahili, somebody is full of love, full of amani, full of developments, maendeleo kwa kila mtu.
Now, speaking of developments, we understand Taita Taveta County, 64% of it is occupied by the Tsavo East and Tsavo West. The county has for years been trying to see if the KWS can have a revenue sharing method so that the county can up its revenue methods of collecting revenue each year. But where is the status quo right now of Taita Taveta County?
Let me tell you, in fact, that question, you should expound it and ask me what is the challenge of Taita Taveta right now. Let me tell you, vile mimi nimeingia ugavana, nimeona ile formula tunatumia kwa national, ile one man one police, 1 shilling, one man 1 shilling. Kwa kweli it is not working. 2013, 2017, it was working. But you see, devolution is good. 2013, 2017, there are places, hatukuwa na health centers, tumeweka health centers. Hatukuwa na ECDs, tukaweka ECDs. And you know, if you ukijenga ma health centers na ma ECDs, they are accompanied by staff. So over a time, from 2013 up to now, sahi, we're in a big problem. Because the money we are getting from the national government, nikilipa mshahara ya county na pamoja na county assembly, the money which remains, I cannot do any development at all. Because at that time, even the wage bill was small. But now because of those infrastructures which we have done, which is good for the people, now the staff has increased. So that money which we used to get, and because it actually increases paltry with a very little amount. Tukisema tunalipa mshahara, tayari wage bill tume. For example, you know, monthly, Taita Taveta, I get approximately 400 million from the national government. And this money out of 400 million, and my salary for both county and the executive and the county assembly is 288. Tunabakia na 112. For example, this month because we received the money for November, we just received last week but on Thursday. In paying the salary of 208, I remained with 112. And you know, schools are being opened. COVID made all the business died. At the same time, we have had 5 seasons of dry spell. So most of the children are outside agenda shule. So to decide, now let us keep at least 5 million per ward so that these children, at least to ajaribu kueleka shule. And you know, Taita Taveta, we have 20 wards. So which implies in each ward 5 million, that's 100 million. And we remain with 112 million. So if you remove 100 million and 112, we remain with only 12 million. Now this 12 million, can we use them to fuel cars? Can we use to small cars? It's impossible. So, and the revenue generation in small counties like this one, because Taita Taveta is one of the counties which has least revenue generation, simply because 65% is taken by the KWS. We don't get even a single coin. Here we have minerals here and there, but even the royalties, they go to the national government, treasurer. They are very good in receiving the money, but very poor in giving back the royalties. So you know the law stipulates 70% national government, 20% county government, 10% community. But we don't get that money. So even I don't know what to do. So the formula was working. But right now, I think this formula should be checked and if possible, amended. Simply because, you know, I wonder, because there are towns like, for example, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, these are counties which are benefiting, conform with its roads. They benefit from Kenya, they benefit from Kura, they benefit from Kera, and yet before devolution, these counties already, they had those roads. And one word of Taita Taveta, you know, the big words, it is equivalent to the entire Nairobi, or the entire Mombasa. Only what, and the roads are the same, and you cannot tell me if to tarmac road in Nairobi is cheaper than the one in Taita. They're the same ones. So with this money, I cannot do any project. So that's why I'm requesting people, all the professionals in the country, they should come and see if at all they can review this method, so that at least counties like us, we can enjoy like any other counties, because right now we are making those ones who actually had everything to even get more. But now this was which they didn't have. Even we are going now, it was good, but as over time, are you getting me? Over a time, as we started, those facilities we didn't have.
Oh, yes.
They were constructed.
As we wind up, Governor, I understand the head of state might be coming to Taita in the near future. And what are some of the areas that you'd want partnerships or portions that they can take to help you in terms of development so that you can achieve your goals in the next 5 years?
First of all, just the way I've said, I'll talk to the president. If actually counties like this, we can be given conditional so that at least we go at par with other counties. So increase this equitable share. Secondly, you know this county, it is a water surplus account. But right now, you can see how dry this place is. 5 dry spell, people even have, some of them have started dying because of hunger. We started with the buffaloes and wild animals and then domestic animals. Right now, it's very serious because there are no rains. And so one thing which I'll request the president is also to assist us in the water. But actually it is in his heart. He wants to give us the Mzima phase 2. And we are really welcoming that support from him. And at the same time, you know, we have been having Gem Center for a while, but it's not opened. We want it to come to active so that wananchi can benefit. Those are some of the things. When he comes, we shall pass it over to him so that maybe he can assist. But at the moment, I'm working with the government because working with the government just for the good of the people.
Yeah, because I am asking you this because we are seeing that people were thinking that you'd join with the Azimio fraternity holding rallies just to counter-check the government in its progress as it does. But we have seen that you have expressly said it that you will not be doing the rallies but work with the national government for development.
I'm independent. And do you know the meaning of independent? Yes. I'm individual, not with the parties. So I'm at par with the Azimio leaders, I'm at par with Jubilee leaders, I am at par with the UDA leaders. So we are at par. So when we are talking at the same level. So nobody can coerce me to do, it's me to make a decision. Furthermore, right now, you know we have 47 governors.
Yes.
Out of 47 governors, 23, they've already aligned either Kwenye Kwanza or Azimio. I am the only one who has not aligned to none. And I'm the 47th governor, which means that if Council of Governors are making any election, my vote is the determinant vote. Don't you see it's important for this?
Very important.
Yeah, it's very important. So at the moment, but we want to see our people benefit. We have lost for many years. You know, this country, God has endowed it. In fact, if you look at the countries with the resources, Taita is counted among the top 10 in terms of resources. But if you go to index, it is among the least in the country. Why? It's because of the injustices. Like the water we have Mzima 2, it goes straight to Mombasa. Our people here in Mwatate right now, they're grappling with the water which is infested with minerals. And you know it requires $1 billion or so to bring the water where it is, to where the people are. But it has never been done like that way. You can see the hills up there. Very good sites, but there's no really investment by the national government. So we want to talk to the national government to change their matrix. What they've been behaving backwards, from now onwards, we work together and assist the people. And of course, I've seen the government is doing, actually they're doing a lot. And I'm seeing some unique things. And I'm foreseeing this country will go very far, the way I'm foreseeing. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Governor Mwadime, or I'll say Governor Wakuja. That is Governor Wakuja. Here we are in Taita Taveta, just getting to understand which are the sectors that the county can invest so that they can accumulate their revenue during the 5-year tenure. But for now, we take you on a commercial break. We'll be back with Biz Checkers after this. I'm Juni Karisa from Taita Taveta County.
After the conclusion of an impressive Athletics Kenya Cross Country Championships, Team Kenya now sets her sight on the 44th edition of the global showpiece, the World Athletics Cross Country Championships Bathurst 23 in Australia. Lined up for the titles is Kenya's contingent of 30 world beaters, ready to contest with more than 550 athletes from over 60 nations. Enjoy these spectacular races from Bathurst, Australia on Saturday, 18 February 2023, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Sikuifanya zawadi.
Sijasema tulifanya.
Najua. Lakini mimi nasema tu.
Gabriel, you better get my boy back home or I swear to God, the world will not be big enough for the both of us. And yes, that's a threat.
Lakini si maji yetu.
Unamaanisha nini hizi kwa maji yenyu? Mimi mwenyewe nilimpata kwa pipes za kisima.
Wewe, hebu rudi hapa. Nini unanipatia habari nusu? Rudi.
I don't think you understand. I said I want to rest. And I can't do that with you here in this house.
And what would Ricarda say? Your mother. Are you telling me that she would be okay with one of my daughters working with you?
Please.
It's you again. I told you I didn't want to see you around here.
The possibility that you will again be Fabiola's splendid future husband.
And how do you expect to achieve that?
I have my own methods. You just leave it to me,
I was in the river.
That's right, why Marisol and not another girl?
I want you to make sure to find out what everybody in this house is up to. You got it? Does this include your daughters? Not only all of my daughters. Keep an eye on Malena as well.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Well, imagine having what you would call a lucrative job abroad, quitting, coming back, investing about 20M, and then burning all of it, going back into the village to become a farmer. And in a span of 3 years, you get into a certain business and you become financially liberated. That is the story of Zakaria Kariuki. He's a crypto investor. He's sharing with us his insight. And of course, he's in the company of Benson Rukenya. He is a crypto expert. He has been in this field for the last 13 years or so. And they're joining us on Base Check. Well, before we come to the close of this conversation, I would want to find out from Zakaria Kariuki, from this conversation, it sounds, cryptocurrency business sounds very easy. Is it easy?
Easy depending on knowledge. The more you know, the easier it becomes. If you want to join this space just to make money without knowing anything, you're going to lose it. Because really, how do you protect your wealth? How do you protect your richness? Is through knowledge. That's why we go to school for so many years. Before you were driving a car, you could see the streets, the roads, and you'd be so scared. But once you went to school, driving school, then that fear just, you eliminate the risk because now you have empowered yourself. The same thing with this space. If you empower yourself with knowledge, it becomes very easy. Me, I've never seen an easier way of making money than cryptocurrency. There's nothing easier than cryptocurrency. Why? You don't pay rent. You don't pay rent, it's on your phone. You don't have to be there on your phone throughout. It gives you time. You have time freedom that you can make money without spending the whole day there. So in reality, and then it also aligns ourselves with one powerful resource, our brain. In reality, there's only hard work and smart work. So if you look at everybody, they want to work hard, really, and show me someone who has worked hard to success, really. But smart working in this era that we are in is the only way to richness. The richest people who are living in Runda, Muthaiga, and everywhere, they're not working hard. They do wake up at 4 a.m., start something. They're busy thinking of how to, it's smart work. It's not working hard. Look at someone who walked from Mombasa Road to probably Westlands, Kangemi to Westlands. That person will still go home with nothing, really, to be honest. The harder you work, the poorer you become in this era. That used to be, in 1960s, work hard.
Is that a confirmed concept?
Yes, it is. It is.
But we learned in school that you work hard and you succeed.
Yes, but that system was crafted in 1985, 844 system. And you're still doing it now. That we are being taught about things that don't exist. If it really worked, everybody would be rich now. I think if you look at it the simple way, a Chinese who comes here and gets a 20 billion contract only understands Chinese. They don't care about any other language. If you look at 3-year-old kid in Kenya, speaks their mother tongue, Kizungu, English and Swahili. 3 languages by the time you're 3. And Chinese who get 20 billion worth of contracts, they only understand Chinese. So it is us to understand Chinese. So in reality, we have learned so many things that don't bring money to our pockets. We know so many. We talk the perfect English, we do all of that. But does that translate to money? I know photosynthesis. How much have you earned from photosynthesis? We have learned so many things that have never brought money to our pockets.
It's just to embolden your knowledge reservoir.
Yes. But they never bring money to our pockets. If you look at any other place outside of Africa, those people just know one thing and their entire lives have changed. So in reality is that if you understand crypto, which crypto is a solution today, is a solution. There's someone who is working today, who is employed today, and is stuck, payslip to payslip. Their time, fully involved. Their money, by the time tunafika tarehe 10, by day 10 they are broke. Someone doing a business, they have to every time cough money from their pocket to support their businesses. Your way of empowering yourself is through cryptocurrency. There's no other way that I can recommend that works. I only know what works. And what works is you can start where you are with what you have. We start with what is safe, where there is zero risk. You make your money and then over time, you grow your knowledge as you grow your portfolio. By the time we get to 3 years, you'll be a fish in water.
Benson, where do you see cryptocurrency business in the next 5 years?
Let me first base it. I assume this is the first year, going to the second and 5th year. All I can say from where I stand, I think it will be the in thing to every Kenyan. It will be like a talk in the street. The crypto language will be a talk in the street, whereby they might talk the crypto language in the street with the knowledge of crypto, even without investing. Because I normally say, start with knowledge. Imagine sensitizing like all these people who know nothing about cryptocurrency, and they know there's something that can get out, they can get them out from the troubles they go through every day. It is that they know that the only one thing they need to know is only cryptocurrency. You will learn that language. For me, from where I come from, I thought that I'll do like wonders to be where I am today. But through technology, which I praise every single day, were it not for technology, I would be where I am today. I don't know.
And where are you today?
Where I am. You can see. in terms of living good life.
Do you live a good life?
Yes, I live a good life. Which
describe a good life to us.
A good life is like the way I am today. A good life to me starts with very small things. Like the suit I'm wearing today, I'm not bragging. But somebody told me one time when I was a kid, I'll not even afford to wear a trouser because we were normally wearing shorts. We were so poor that we cannot even afford, my mom could not even afford to buy us trousers. But look at me today, not only trouser, I'm wearing a suit. So that through the power of technology, which actually I encourage, if there is a tool that can move us from point A to point B, it is technology powered by cryptocurrency. That is the only thing I can. I normally give an example of a taxi. Like way before, you could hail, maybe somebody comes and stop near you and tells you, hey, can I offer you a lift? You would have rejected with a very big no. But today, the same person you rejected maybe that can offer you a lift, today you are requesting them at the comfort of your seat through an application. The power of technology, it has come to breach the trust, even between us. You don't trust the driver, but you trust the software. You get me? So the same thing, we might not trust anyone, but let's only trust this technology. Let's only trust this system. It will take us from point A to point B. And actually talking, I'm representing all Majamo ghetto. I'm that one guy, who actually
from the ghetto.
Yes, that's where I'm born and bred. If actually I can be seated here today with what I have through a technology, hata hawa wanaweza jitoa hapo. But staki wajitoe, they come to me. I'll show them the way.
Zakaria, if you are given another option, if you are not doing crypto trading, what else would you take?
There's no option for me.
You wouldn't go for any other position?
I wouldn't.
If you offered a CS position in Kenya, would you take it?
Not really. That's employment. They'll decide my worth, they'll pay me once a month.
You don't want that?
I don't want. Because in reality, what do you want? You want freedom. What is freedom? Time freedom and financial freedom. I need to wake up when I want to wake up. Not that I have to be there by 8 and someone is controlling my time where I should be. I should ask for permission. So I have time freedom. I do what I want. At what particular time, spending my money. How much I want to spend is not on budget. I can make, we have something called downloadable money. People are busy downloading photos and music on their phones. We download money. So you can go anywhere in the world and just download your money, and your money is reality. So why do I want to take the only freedom that everybody looks for and go to the only place that I know I'll fail? Because there is a lot of failure. People fear losing money in cryptocurrency because they are guided by fear. But in reality, what are they doing? They're just getting in what is most risky, employment. Because at the end of the day, when you wake up and you set your alarm to wake up, what happens? You've just sold your time, that someone is going to buy your time cheap. That even if you want to do anything by the time it's 8 to 5, you have to ask for permission. It's not your time. You sold your time. So at the age of 60, they'll release you. They'll tell you now, go home. We no longer need your services. You don't know what will happen. You'll be lucky if you last 5 years. You'll be very lucky.
Are you scaring me?
Yeah, that's how it is. You'll be very lucky if you survive 5 years. Because you've been on a journey of repeat battle. Wake up at 8, go back home at 5,
But Zakaria, I mean, can all of us fit in that crypto space?
Yes,
honestly
absolutely.
speaking.
Absolutely.
So who will get employed? Because employment is still needed.
But you see, even if you look at the Bible, God never talked of job. He said, I'll bless the work of your hands. So God never realizes what a job is. Because no one was created to serve another man or woman. You're created to have your own way. So it's not a must that we work for other people, really. The people who should only work for other people are the people who ignored the reality of where the world is going. But in reality, now, for us now, we are living in a very informed world that you can wake up in the morning and change careers today. You can become what you want to become. I'm a trained accountant, but I've never practiced it, even in a day. I've never.
Would you go back into accounting?
I wouldn't. Why count someone else's money when I can count mine? Really? Why should someone employ me to count their money? And that person that has employed me is not an accountant. Remember, the people who get A, B, and C in school work for the people who get D, E, and F.
Would you take up a position to be the CEO of one of the best blue chip companies in Kenya?
Well, the thing is, it's still employment.
So you wouldn't?
I wouldn't.
You're happy in where you are?
It's very simple. If you can make 1,000 shillings today, you do it 1,000 times, that's 1,000,000 shillings. That's how easy it is to make 1,000,000 shillings. So if you can make 1,000 shillings in cryptocurrency, repeat it what you just did, repeat it 1,000 times, you're a millionaire. If you make 1,000,000 shillings, repeat it 1,000 times, you have 1,000,000,000 shillings. You can't do that with employment. If I start today with, even if they pay me 1,000,000 shillings, by the time I get 2,000,000 shillings, I'll have worked for 20 years. In cryptocurrency, it's a matter of decision. I choose when I want to earn that money.
Well, gentlemen, because we have to come to the end of this conversation, it's becoming more interesting. But before I let you people go, and I want to hear this from Benson, what is your advice to the people who are watching this program, people who have seen you get to where you are?
What I can say is that actually they are too late, because I normally say, because we are visible, you can see us, like those people who know me when I'm growing up, they can see where I am today. They don't need even to ask any question what I do. They should just come and jump in and start doing what I'm doing, because by default it is paying out. So this is not, I normally tell people, success is like pregnancy. Sorry to say that. You can't hide it. Over time, somebody will see, huyu jamaa ameendelea. You see, you don't have to tell these people. But what I can only urge these people is just to shun that mentality of like everything that you see, everything that you come across is a scam. That mentality, that scam mentality is what actually we need to shun down as Kenyans and as Africans. Scam mentality ndio imetuweka mahali tuko. Like every opportunity you come, and that's why poverty, poor, passing of opportunity repeatedly. Like if I tell you about an opportunity, unakata, that you have already passed over an opportunity. That's why you actually will be poor the rest of your life if you fail to just take the first leap of faith step. Kuja, ask me questions, I'll guide you. And actually we normally do this almost every week.
Do you ask for money?
We don't ask for money. I give you free knowledge.
Do they pay you?
Why should they pay? This is the knowledge I acquired, and I said from the beginning of this show, I want to be a crypto evangelist. That I will preach to you the word of crypto. Whether you get in or you get out, at least umeelewa. Why do we have pastors preaching every Sunday? And what uokoka? See what uokoka? So it's the same thing. Hata pia mimi niko, and I'll preach and I'll teach you about this thing. We normally do those trainings every week up at our. So if you feel like you are tired of what you have been doing, come, we show you the way.
Very good. Zakaria Karaoke.
Yes.
What is your last shot to the people watching you?
In our hands we have a tool. And this tool is the only tool that can liberate us financially. We have always been known, especially as Africans, to be always, when it comes to matters money, we always last. But now everyone has a decision to make. It's not a popular decision that you have to follow a community. You can make a conscious decision and say, I want to try this thing. I want to change my financial life. I'm tired of the life I've been living. And take that first step. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Start today. Okay? Start today. And that, in a few years to come, you'll never need to work for money as hard as you have worked for money before. So for me, cryptocurrency has changed my life, has changed the lives of many people. I am lucky that I'm surrounded by people who do crypto. And I've seen people move from nothing to being millionaires and multimillionaires. And today, the reason why I'm here also is to tell someone who has even lost confidence and faith that they'll ever make money in their lives, that yes, there's a chance, yes, there's hope, that the hope is cryptocurrency moving forward.
Very good. Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for gracing our show today, and of course for sharing with us your insights. And I'm sure you have inspired somebody. And as I always tell people, let's make money the right way.
Yes.
Asante sana.
Thank you so much.
All the best and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, our conversation this morning, we've been talking about cryptocurrency and how to get into the world of cryptocurrency. And of course, you have to really arm yourself with the right information. Of course, knowing too well just that, just like any other investment, you can make your financial breakthrough. But at the same time, if you do not make conscious and the right decisions, if you don't get into it with the right information, then you run the risk of burning your fingers. cryptocurrency is big business, definitely. And you're talking about a business that is estimated to be about 1.1 trillion US dollars. Do you know how much is that? How much money is that? To put it into perspective, just imagine the economy of Kenya is about 100 billion US dollars. Yeah, 100 billion US dollars. So how many Kenya's economy are those? Well, that is the size of cryptocurrency that we are talking about here. And according to estimates, it is likely to breach the 5 trillion US dollar mark by the year 2030. Those are the numbers that we are talking about. You're watching BizCheck. We are live from Broadcasting House. This is the only platform where you can get and listen to this kind of enriching stuff. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Coming up next is a conversation on the US-Kenya trade relations, and we are tracking the position of the much talked about free trade agreement between Kenya or between Nairobi and Washington. That conversation is coming up next. Stay right here.
But it wasn't the state alone that was guilty. The church, on its own side, there were several occasions where through essentially persuasion and sometimes stronger means would put measures in place to try and select their own choice of king, their own choice of emperor, knowing that if that particular king or emperor was under their control, the church would find it easier to carry on its own activities. So essentially there was a power struggle between the two. And it reached a point where, out of reason, both Pope Calixtus and Henry IV decided to sit down and try and come up with a sort of treaty, an agreement where they would state exactly what it is that the church is allowed to do in terms of state affairs and what the state is allowed to do in terms of church affairs. And out of this agreement, which we call the Concordat of Worms, which Worms being a city in northern Germany, also known as the Pactum Calixtum, out of this agreement, there was a sort of balance that was held. It was an uneasy balance, but it was the first step towards what we have today, the proper understanding that we have today of that separation of church and state, knowing that they are separate, yes, but keeping in mind that there's supposed to be collaboration between the two. And that agreement led to now the First Lateran Council, where the agreement was officially ratified. That is essentially what we had in mind when we came up with the concept of the symposium. Related to that, because understanding medieval church history, it's always important to look at the art of the time, because human beings always require something visual, something tangible to really bring home a particular message. So that is why we organized the exhibition related to the theme, which you can see around us and behind us, where we selected particular paintings and particular texts that help to bring to light the theme of the symposium and help us understand better the actual lessons in history that we can gain from the First Lateran Council and from the Black Death pandemic. At this point, if there are any questions, could attempt to answer some of them, and then we can return the mic to our capable dean. Yes, thank you.
My name is Faris with KBC. I was asking, perhaps now, given the history of the Black Death and the pandemic that we've just come out of, perhaps now going forward, what can the church do in its own capacity to try and preach the message of how not only just Christians but everyone can just go over the pandemics, like how do we deal with them, how do we deal with the issues that come out of them, the mental state of people and all that.
Thank you for that question. I would say maybe we could look at it from two perspectives. On one side, there are lessons we can gain from how the church went about the Black Death pandemic from a medical point of view. One of the major interventions that was attempted during that time to try and stem the tide of death. There was no real cure, as we know right now. At the time, unfortunately, the doctors in the Middle Ages did not have a proper understanding of bacteria, which we now know, which caused the Black Death. So they had to come up with their own ways to try and solve the problem. One particular intervention, as I've mentioned, was the introduction of the quarantine. Throughout human history, there has always been the idea that, yes, once someone has fallen sick, and you know if they are around other people, it's likely that those around them will also get sick. But the proper enforcement of a quarantine, particularly by the state, only began during the Black Death pandemic, where we have countries such as Poland, which is uniquely one of the only European countries that ended up not suffering great losses due to the Black Death, precisely because the king at the time, Casimir the Great, enforced a statewide or nationwide boundary quarantine, where anyone within the country was not allowed to step outside the boundaries, and anyone attempting to come in was unfortunately left out. But in his mind, he wanted to protect his people. And because of those strict measures, Poland ended up surviving a great deal of the pandemic. So in one sense, when you look at today's world, of course, over the past 2 years, we've had various arguments speaking both about the pros and the cons of the various quarantine and lockdown measures that have been executed by various countries all over the world. But speaking from a strictly medical point of view and looking at how such measures help the Black Death, while there will always be some unfortunate compromises you might have to make, for the greater good, the lockdowns and the quarantines do actually help. On the second point, relating how people within the post-pandemic world can learn to interact, one unfortunate instance that the death pandemic is precisely because the doctors did not understand what caused the pandemic. The common Christian, the layperson in the ground, on the streets, needed to find someone to blame because they couldn't understand why their family, their loved ones, their friends were all dying in such unfortunate and gruesome ways. And
those are members of the clergy. They're giving a state of the nation address there, and of course highlighting a number of issues. You're watching this check. We are live from Broadcasting House. This is what we do every Thursday, and we are back now. We have been talking about the cryptocurrency and what you need to know in order for you to get into this space. Highly sophisticated, and of course it requires you to be armed with the right information. Now we want to switch gears and talk about trade and investment matters. And now I want to take you back to the year 2020, when former US President Donald Trump told the world that Washington and Nairobi were talking to craft what was being billed back then as the model of free trade agreements in Africa. Of course, Donald Trump left the office without seeing the trade agreement reached. And therein came Joseph Biden, or Joe Biden. He has restarted the talks. And of course, we know for sure that the U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai has been in Kenya before to try and see ways of accelerating these negotiations. We know that Kenya's Trade Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria dispatched a team to Washington last month, actually, to try and see whether they can fast-track these agreements. We are yet to know the results of their conversations. Joining us this morning to help us get a clear perspective on where we are and the importance of these discussions is Maxwell Okello. He's the CEO of AmCham. AmCham, for your information, is the American Chamber of Commerce, joining us this morning. Thank you very much indeed, Maxwell, for joining us. First of all, help us understand what is AmCham, number one, and where are you involved in this whole matrix of trying to craft a trade deal between Nairobi and Washington?
All right, thank you very much, O'Brien, for having me this morning. Just real quick, the American Chamber of Commerce is a network of American and is a network of American and Kenyan businesses that are invested and committed on the bilateral commercial relationship between Kenya and the US. And what we do is primarily drive and support commercial promotion between our two countries. And of course, to do that, you need to be able to effectively intervene in matters relating to the policy environment that would help drive greater trade and investment. And so, to your question around the free trade area, or famously known as the FTA, you're right in the sense that this was initiated by President Donald Trump previously. But with the change in administration, with the Biden administration coming into play, they had to take a pause and review what had been negotiated then. I think Kenya had about 2 rounds of negotiations by that time. And I think towards mid last year, there was an announcement that Kenya will be restarting, Kenya and the US will be restarting that process, but in the form of a strategic trade and investment partnership. And so that is what...
Instead of an FTA.
Instead of an FTA. But I would look at it as more a pathway towards perhaps eventually a free trade agreement.
Why do you think there was a change of mind? Because there was a feeling that it was some sort of a downgrade from an FTA, because an FTA is a more serious arrangement as opposed to a strategic agreement.
Yeah, I think, some of these things, it's a little difficult to really understand what happens in the background. But I want to believe that the intent is still there, it's still the same, and sometimes it's just a different path towards that eventual outcome that we are looking for. Such trade agreements tend to be a government-to-government affair. It's a government-to-government negotiation. And because of that, there are certain factors that come into play that could be priorities, for example, of the new administration. Actually, in this case, both administrations were new coming into this. And so that could be one of the reasons that caused that sort of pivot. But as I said, I firmly believe, or we firmly believe as the American Chamber of Commerce, that this is just one phase of several steps that could eventually end up with a more comprehensive trade arrangement between Kenya and the US.
I mean, you see, you're talking about the year 2020 when both countries, Kenya and the US, announced that they are starting discussions on how to establish an FTA. So much water has gone under the bridge. The world, as we know it today, is not the same as it was then in 2020. Therein came the COVID-19 pandemic, the global economic crisis. Now we are dealing with another crisis triggered by the geopolitics of the Ukraine-Russia war. Do you still think it is tenable to have an FTA between Kenya and the US modeled on the platform of the year 2020?
Well, maybe not modeled on the year 2020, but the reality is that we find ourselves in. This, I want to believe, is a dynamic process. And the dynamism that we're talking about here should be at the heart of what drives these sort of engagements, these sort of agreements. And so I want to believe that there will be due consideration to the environment that we find ourselves in from a business perspective. However, I think an important consideration that we have to always bear in mind is that such trade arrangements are about the long term. It's not about the here and now. It's about what can we achieve using such a platform over the next 5, 10, and so many more years for the benefit of the trade and investment relationship between countries.
You see, when you look at the two-way trade numbers between Kenya and the US, you're talking about 1.2 billion US dollars, worth of trade every year, and so you're talking about 130 billion Kenya shillings. In American terms, that is definitely nothing. It's just a drop in the ocean. But of course, in Kenya, those are big numbers. Do you believe Washington is still committed to this cause?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Where do you base your argument from?
Well, if you look at the sort of activity, the reinvigoration, if I may put it that way, of our commercial relationship with the U.S. Over and above, the political and cultural relationships that we've had over a period of time.
Yeah.
Choosing to still proceed, go forward with some form of trade arrangement, they could have chosen not to do that. Then secondly, and now speaking purely from a private sector perspective, we continue to see quite a bit of interest in Kenya as a market in itself, but also as a hub for American multinationals for the region.
Yeah.
And so just those two indicators, as far as I'm concerned, point towards a commitment and a willingness to see how we can deepen the commercial engagement between our two countries. And as you know, business follows opportunity. It's just that simple. If it's not Kenya, it could be another country. But right now, the spotlight is being shined on Kenya. And so we want to make sure that we take advantage of this opportunity so that we can maximize as a country, and of course as a private sectors that are here, this attention and the foreign direct investment that could potentially result from this.
And you see, the U.S. is, has not been in talks with Kenya only when it comes to addressing or getting into an FTA kind of an agreement here in Africa. I mean, they have done it with Ghana, they've done it with Egypt, they have done it with South Africa. Why do you think the Kenyan model has taken too long to be implemented? I know you say that, there was a change of regime, but there was no change of government in Washington.
Well, the government sets the agenda, right? The government does set the agenda. And so it is not... It is not anything that is unusual for the government of the day to review what had been done by the previous governments. However, moving away from there, and I really don't want to purport to be speaking on behalf of the American government here. Moving away from there, from that, trade negotiations do take a while. We've seen that. We've seen that all over the world. And in Africa, just to clarify, the U.S. has only one free trade agreement, and that's with Morocco. There was attempt, rightly so, to do one with South Africa that fell through. I'm not so sure what the reasons were. So Kenya would have been the first in sub-Saharan Africa had it gone through in the form of an FTA. But like I said, that for us, that particular ambition, that particular dream is still alive. I think we are taking steps towards that through this strategic trade and investment partnership. And the reason why we are really behind that, why we support that, is because we think that having a formalized, comprehensive, stable trade agreement with the U.S. will be transformational for this country.
Will be transformational.
Exactly, and creation of jobs as well.
Well, in case you're just joining us here in studio, we are having this conversation with Maxwell Okello. He's the CEO of the American Chamber of Commerce. Our conversation revolves around the Kenya-US trade relations. And the question that we're asking ourselves is Washington serious when it comes to dealing with Nairobi? That is a question that we're asking ourselves. How important is Nairobi as a trade ally for Washington? We know militarily and, of course, diplomatically, Kenya or Nairobi is a critical hub for Washington. But what about trade-wise? That is why I'll be having the AmCham CEO, Maxwell Okello. He's helping us to understand how critical Nairobi is to Washington when it comes to matters of trade. And I do agree with you that when it comes to an FTA, it is only Morocco in Africa that has an FTA with the U.S. But we know for sure that the U.S. has entered into strategic trade relations with South Africa, with Ghana, and now they want to do the same with Kenya. I mean, how do you expect this to be different or to be radical from the kind of strategic relations they have with Pretoria and with Accra?
Yeah, I think looking at this purely from a a business perspective, and that's what I want to focus my remarks on. As I said, for us, let me give you two perspectives here. Let me look at it as a Kenyan. Yeah, and from a Kenyan private sector perspective, it is important for us to have stability in the form of a predictable trade arrangement with the US. Think of the US as this locomotive that has really transformed several countries. Talk about South Korea, Vietnam, and so on. I mean, that list is endless. You want to have a trade arrangement that is comprehensive, that allows for FDI to come into this country in the sort of numbers that we would like to see, that is actually transformational.
And what are these numbers?
Well, these numbers we wait to see, right? I'm sure you saw what the sort of quote that CS Moses Kuria gave, that Kenya would like to see. I think it's over 100 billion in terms of foreign direct investment in Kenya. I need to remember that particular figure properly. I hope I've quoted it right. But where will that come from? It can only come from deliberate and concerted efforts such as this to create an environment that if you're sitting in the US as a company, as an investor who's looking for opportunities, and Africa is truly that next frontier. So if you're coming to Africa, where do you park your investment? There are very few countries that you can really talk about. And I think Kenya is right up there. As I said, because of our location, because of all this great stuff that we've done from an infrastructure perspective, the connectivity and so on, Kenya is the perfect hub for companies to come set up for the Kenyan market and the regional markets as well. And so I think that is a key driver for what we are seeing happening now.
Tell me things. Next year, there will be elections in the US. God knows who will be the president. It is not yet clear whether, Joseph Biden will vie. And if he doesn't, then, somebody else will come into the office. And God knows, what kind of policies they'll put in place. And of course, just like any other new administration, when you come into power, you have to make changes within your government. And so you cannot sit here guaranteed that, Catherine Tai will still be the trade representative for the US, post-2024. And so this is likely to be another setback for these negotiations if they will not be concluded by then. So what do we need to do to accelerate this conversation? These trade negotiations. Is there anything that Nairobi can do, honestly?
I think again, speaking as someone who's proximate to what is happening with these negotiations, I think that willingness and the commitment from the Kenyan government is clearly demonstrable. We've also seen the willingness and the commitment from the US government to push this along. And so, the most we can do is to wait and see. From a private sector, we keep advocating engagements such as this, allow us to just shine a little more light on why this is important and how it can be transformational for our country. And so, we keep doing our bit, keeping that dialogue alive, and then hope that the governments and the negotiating teams can work through this in the fastest period possible. And so I can't predict the future, but I want to hold that hope that this will see the cross line, the finishing line, excuse me, soon.
We know for sure, and we understand, the concept of lobbying in Washington, whereby, various companies, various countries, institutions, they employ the services of lobbyists in Washington that are strong, that are powerful, to drive their agenda. And we know this happens even in the House of Representatives, even in Congress, whereby, you tap the services of various lobbyists to drive and to push your agenda. From where you sit, do you think this is a strategy that Nairobi can employ?
And I want to believe that it is also happening.
It is happening.
I want to believe so. I'm not saying that.
Your belief is based on what?
It's just the way this kind of negotiations work. You want to be able to. We as the American Chamber of Commerce and our partners in the US through the US Chamber are always talking this up in various engagements that we have. And I want to also believe that the Kenya government is smart enough to know that you need to be able to engage at various levels to build that sort of support to be able to move this forward. So, and this I'm speaking purely from our perspective. The Kenya government can verify this, but I want to trust that they are deploying such strategies as well to ensure that they are able to move this forward.
Mm-hmm. So you're trusting, but you do not know.
I'm trusting that the right things are being done so that we can move this forward.
So it's going to be move forward.
Yeah.
Help us understand this. I mean, and the whole point is to diversify our offering to the American markets, because we are very strong when it comes to apparel because of AGOA agreement, which unfortunately is elapsing in 2025.
Yes.
And so Nairobi is trying to place itself strategically so that you can have more offering to the American markets, because, let's face it, Kenya has the best black tea in the world. Kenyan coffee is the best in the world. Our flowers are unrivaled. And so, for us to access to have a wider reach of the American market, we need to get, into special arrangement. What is the role of the private sector in ensuring that this agenda is driven forward?
Yeah, I think this is any trade agreement or arrangement, as much as it is negotiated between governments, is all about the private sector.
Exactly.
Yeah, the locus of actually implementing that is incumbent on the private sector.
Yeah.
And so what do we need to do as a private sector? We actually need to pay attention. We need to interrogate what the opportunities are and position ourselves to take those opportunities. So if you take AGOA, for example, it's been there, you rightly said, 2025, a decision will need to be made whether it is being stopped or they will renew it, and I'm sure there are conversations going on. We know there are conversations going on to see what would that next step be for AGOA. But if you look at Kenya is utilizing, I think, just about 100 of those tariff lines. There are 6,400 tariff lines. Yeah. So being able to just stay tuned to what those opportunities are and looking at our own strengths as a country from a private sector perspective and taking advantage of that, even the few remaining years of AGOA, I think is definitely right up the alley of the private sector. So we need to step up as a private sector. We need to step up and be able to leverage these platforms, if I may call them that are being created by government to ease that trade that we are all looking for.
You see, the efforts of having a trade agreement between Kenya and the US back then was seen as an effort to try and minimize the influence of China, in the Kenyan market. Because when you look at the trade between Kenya and China, you're talking about more than 370 billion Kenya shillings, compared to the 120 billion US dollars, what are traded between Nairobi and Washington. And so, do you think the people who are driving this narrative were right?
Well, if you look at the trade statistics, right now the biggest export market for Kenya is actually the US.
The US, yeah.
Yeah. It is actually the US. Then secondly, if you look at...
I think it's Uganda and then US.
Well, last year, the US became the leading export market for Kenya.
In the last quarter.
Yeah. So that's one. Then two, if you look at the period between 2016 and 2019, in terms of total investment flows, about 1.17 billion US, China 408 or thereabouts million. So while there is quite a bit of activity from the Chinese side of things, most of it is actually importation into Kenya. If you look at our like I've said, our export, I think we're doing well there. What we need to do and where there's a lot of scope to do is encourage more FDI into the country, and as you said, really leverage AGOA so that we can up even further that 1.2 billion that you've talked about. We are barely scratching the surface. And that's why trade arrangements such as this just want to ensure that there is continuity, there is stability that would allow that to be catalyzed.
You see, when you look at Kenya's export to the US vis-a-vis the imports, you see that we export more goods to the US than we import from the US, because we have a trade deficit of about 27 billion Kenya shillings.
Correct.
In favor of Kenya. And you're saying, and you're right, that there are more than 6,400 line of export that we can exploit to reach the American market. But it is often said that the US has made it somehow very difficult for you to access their market through conditions and the phytosanitary demands. Is this true?
It is true in the sense that you need to meet certain standards, and those standards apply to everybody. It's not just to Kenyans or Kenyan businesses. Just the same way, if you are to do any form of agriculture trade, since you've mentioned SPS considerations, there are certain standards, there are certain considerations that you must meet to be able to import your product into Kenya. So there's really nothing unusual there. I think where that sort of gap comes in is just that, we are used to a certain standard. There's a certain standard that is required, and we need to rise to meet that standard. Now, having said that, there are Kenyan companies that are actually exporting to the US. The 1.2 billion that you've talked about, apparel, coffee, macadamia, and so many other lines, they are meeting the standards. So I think we just need to relook at that differently and look at what does it take to meet that standard. And we also know that there are programs that support local companies to be able to meet those requirements.
And you put it quite well that free trade agreement or strategic agreement between countries and countries, they are entered in a bid to be driven by the private sector, because the government is not in business. It is the private sector that is in business. What kind of a trade agreement would you expect between the two countries?
A robust one, as much
How
as
do you
possible.
define that?
When I say robust, is that it needs to be holistic, in the sense that you're looking at different sectors that can participate on that platform. We are very keen to see a trade agreement that would also bring stability to the policy, sort of your tax reform and environment that allows for long-term investment to be made. Because one of the big challenges engaging with multinationals, American multinationals, I want to believe even other multinationals, is the matters relating to the flux when it comes to policy and regulatory environment. So that needs to be stabilized, because investment decisions are long-term, as I said, and you need that that sort of environment to be stable. Then, of course, there are other matters that we are very, very keen on. How to encourage participation of small businesses, because those are the engines that drive our economies on this side, and believe it or not, in the US as well. Digital trade, the digital economy, is also an important one for us. And then agriculture, trade in agriculture, which is the biggest employer here. If we can scale that up, I think those are just a few of the areas that we would like to see enshrined within the trade agreement. Yeah.
And as a private sector, is there any role that you're playing to try and drive this agenda?
Yes, absolutely. We provide input from a private sector perspective on the various negotiating positions, the areas, the pillars that have been identified. So, for example, the STIP has identified, I think there are about 11 or 12 areas that they are looking at for this particular phase. So we have actually given submissions on those, both on the US side to the USTR, and the Kenyan side as well through the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. So our role is to provide input from a private sector perspective for consideration as they work through the various pillars of the agreement.
And before I let you go, Maxwell, are you of the opinion that this conversation or these trade negotiations are moving at the desired pace?
As with any such negotiation, as I said, they do take time, but we would like to see a faster pace, just so that, you know, we are able to have this in place and we can confidently leverage that from a private sector perspective. But the pace really is something that it's not unusual, let me put it that way. And so we will keep advocating for this to just move, and we will provide our input as we keep going forward. And I think related to that, just to add impetus to these processes, we are hosting a business summit at the end of March, 29th and 30th of March, that is going to bring together in one place American businesses, local businesses in Kenya and the region, the US government, Kenya governments as well, Kenya governments and the governments of those regions, to do two things. One, drive dialogue around policy and regulatory issues that will help advance trade and investment. And two, and equally important, catalyze commercial engagement. We want companies to connect with each other, initiate commercial opportunities or commercial discussions amongst them, and hopefully close deals. Because even as you have that negotiation going on, the private sector is burning rubber. They need to move. And so I just want to encourage Kenyans to watch that space. Companies that are interested in participating in this can go to www.amchambizsummit.com. That's AMCHAM. .com. So amchambizsummit.com.
Is the meeting open to members of the public?
It is open to businesses. They can register and participate.
So this is not a meeting whereby it is open to members of the public not to come listen?
No. It's a business. It's a business forum.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's good to clear that.
Yes.
Maxwell Okello, thank you very much indeed for joining us here this morning. And now it's almost coming to 12 to help us understand where are we in terms of these strategic negotiations, and of course helping us with your insight. Of course, it is the desire of us as a country, and I want to believe of the Americans, to have these conversations completed so that the private sector can start to feel the impacts and the benefits of this two-way traffic investment.
Absolutely.
Very well. Asante sana. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Well, Maxwell Okello is the CEO of the American Chamber of Commerce, joining us this morning, and now it's afternoon, to help us put into perspective where the US-Kenya trade relationship are and how they can be fast-tracked. And of course, you have heard it from him. And earlier on, we had a very interesting conversation around cryptocurrency and why you need to get into this space and what you need to know and what you need to do. Well, it has been 2 hours of fruitful conversation with me, O'Brien, and my host, or my guest, that is. Well, we have to come to the end of this conversation because Tamurini is coming up next with Zainab. Otherwise, from me and the rest of business team, thank you so very much indeed for joining us. And remember, today is Thursday. We also have our business news segment at 9 p.m. And so you do want to keep it right here for that. And after Tamurini, we shall be having our 1 o'clock bulletin. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.